The Frog Lake Massacre was part of the Cree Uprising during the Northwest Rebellion in Western Canada, led by Wandering Spirit. Young Cree warriors attacked the community of Frog Lake in the district of Saskatchewan in the Northwest Territories on the 2nd of April 1885, where they killed 9 settlers. Causes: Chief Big Bear and his band had settled near Frog Lake about 55 kilometers northwest of Fort Pitt but had not yet selected a reserve site. He had signed Treaty 6 in 1882. Angered by what seemed to be an unfair treaty and by the dwindling buffalo population, Big Bear began organizing the Cree for resistance. Learning of the Emiakuti's victory at the Battle of Duck Lake a week earlier and of Poundmaker's advance on Battleford, Wandering Spirit, the war chief of Big Bear's band, began a campaign to gather arms, ammunition and food supplies from the surrounding countryside. The nearest source of supplies and the first to be looted were the government stables, the Hudson's Bay Company Post and George Dill's store at Frog Lake. Anger among the Cree in the area was directed largely at the representative of the Canadian government, the Indian agent Thomas Quinn, who was the source of the inadequate rations that kept the Cree in a state of near-starvation. The massacre. A band of Cree led by the war chief Wandering Spirit took Thomas Quinn hostage in his home in the early morning of the 2nd of April. The Cree then took more white settlers hostage and took control of the community. They gathered the Europeans, including 2 priests, in the local Catholic church, where Mass was in progress. After Mass concluded, at around 11 a.m., the Cree ordered the prisoners to move to their encampment a couple of kilometers away. Quinn steadfastly refused to leave the town. In response, Wandering Spirit shot him in the head. In the resulting panic, despite Big Bear's attempt to stop the shootings, Wandering Spirit's band killed another 8 unarmed settlers. The 2 Catholic priests, Leon Fafford and Felix Marchand, Fafford's lay assistant John Williscroft, as well as John Gowan Locke, John Delaney, William Gilchrist, George Deal, and Charles Guan. A Hudson's Bay Company clerk, William Bleasdale Cameron, one of the men rounded up into the church, went to the Hudson's Bay shop to fill an order made by Quinn for Miserable Man after Mass. When the first shots were fired, he escaped with the help of sympathetic Cree, and made his way to a nearby Wood Cree camp, where the chief pledged to protect him. Teresa Gowan Locke and Teresa Delaney, wives of 2 of the slain men, the families, and approximately 70 others from the town were taken captive. After the massacre, the bodies of Fafford, Marchand, Delaney and Gowan Locke had been hurriedly placed in the cellar under the church by several of the Emiakuti's residents who were now captive. At great risk they also moved the bodies of Quinn and Guan into the cellar of a house near where they were killed. However, they were refused permission to touch the other victims. The church, the rectory and all the buildings of the Frog Lake settlement were burned on April 4, 1885. All that remained of the mission was the bell tower and the cemetery. On June 14, the Midland Battalion arrived and buried the victims of the massacre in the cemetery. During their occupation, the bell, which was suspended from the fire-blackened bell tower, disappeared. Aftermath. The Cree moved on to Fort Pitt. The massacre prompted the Canadian government to take notice of the growing unrest in Western Canada. The rebellion was put down. Wandering Spirit and 5 other warriors were convicted of treason for their actions in the Frog Lake Massacre. They were hanged with 2 other Cree convicted of murder in the largest mass execution in Canadian history. Although Big Bear had opposed the attack, he was charged with treason because of his efforts to organize resistance among the Cree. He was convicted and sentenced to 3 years in the Manitoba Penitentiary. Legacy. Frog Lake became part of the province of Alberta in 1905. The site of the massacre was designated the Frog Lake National Historic Site in 1923, at the location of the Cree Uprising which occurred in the district of Saskatchewan, Northwest Territories. Parks Canada says the site designated by the Historic Sites and Monuments Board of Canada is extensive, but the National Park Service owns only a small portion, mainly a graveyard, where a stone cairn and federal plaque were erected in 1924. The geographic coordinates on this page are for that cairn.